welcome to United Opposition with Scott and Marshall. Today we're talking AI, artificial intelligence. Here we go. That's right. A couple of intelligent guys talking about artificial intelligence. So would we be natural intelligence, human intelligence? What would we be, Marshall?
Maybe human intelligence for sure. Although I think in some cases the word intelligence is liberally applied. But
yes, as we saw last week at the DNC. Anyway, I had to throw that jab in there. Well, hey, this is United Opposition, where we have two people who are united in their opposition. Yeah, we talk about things from two different sides of whatever standpoint that we're at, but we can do that united, and we can come together and we can discuss that, and we're excited to share that with everyone who's watching. I am, for those of you who may not know, I'm Scott Garcia. I am a lay pastor at a local church here in Bakersfield. And Marshall, what are your bona fides? Is it bona fides? Bona fides? Why would you say that?
Bona fides, I guess, but right now I don't have any. I'm unemployed. So
no. But as far as what
I've worked with.
What has given you the opinion? What has given you your opinions?
Well, I've worked with AI Chat GPT 4.0 in particular,
and
all of that, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts on this topic, and this dovetails with my political interests and advocacy.
Well, what I meant by that, Marshall, is just in general. I was kind of introducing myself as a pastor here, but just for our United Opposition, what has kind of led to your opinions in general? What's your, I come from kind of a
going
Christian,
to college,
conservative,
reading books. So there you go.
There we are.
I try to have informed opinions.
I gone to college. I spent 5 years at Bakersfield College.
There you go. That's right. We were there together.
And I didn't even get a degree.
You didn't get an associate's at least?
No. Let me tell you that's very, very quick story. I was trying to get a degree in graphic design. It was a brand new degree that they had offered right at that point, and I was working at a print shop and working 40, 50 hours, 50, 60 hours a week. I could only do one class at night at a semester. That's all I had time for. So after 5 years at BC, I had quit my job at the print shop, and I had started my own graphic design business. And I found myself in my office that I was renting, doing graphic design, locking up my office so I could drive to BC to take a class so I could get my degree to be a graphic artist.
Do what you were already doing.
I was already doing. Why am I taking time away from work to get a degree to do what I'm already doing? And I just stopped. So that's where I'm at. But hey, this is United Opposition. Today we're talking about artificial intelligence. But first off, we want to thank our sponsor. Covenant Coffee. Hope in a cup. That's right. You get your Covenant Coffee at 2 locations in Bakersfield. You're supporting an amazing ministry that helps emancipated foster youth here in town, and it gives them a chance to get a leg up where the system they a lot of times fall through the cracks of the system when they turn 18 and they age out of the foster system and they don't have really anybody to care for them. Covenant Coffee comes in, has programs helping them find a place to work, find a place to live, and giving them mentorship. And it is Hope in a Cup. And so here's our Covenant Coffee ASMR. Get your Covenant Coffee here in Bakersfield. But thank you very much, Covenant Coffee, for supporting us. Artificial intelligence. I'm interested to see because we were talking today, and you're like, hey, we want to talk about AI, and I'm like, ooh, I really do want to talk about that because I might have an interesting take on it, but I want to hear your take, Marshall. Where are you coming from? Why did you want to bring up the topic of AI?
Yeah, well, I've been very interested in it. I've been working with it for a couple of years now, and it's continually improving and getting better and better. It's still kind of dumb. It still certainly hasn't reached human level. But, I listen to a variety of different podcasts and stuff myself, and some of the stuff that these guys are saying is just a little bit scary. They're talking about the pace at which it is accelerating.
Oh, yeah.
And it is breathtaking. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking and I'm looking at the politics of the thing, the election, and all of this other stuff that's happening. I recently became unemployed about a week ago. And now I'm thinking,
that's a story for another time, right?
it is a story for another time, but I'm like, what's going to happen when so many more people are unemployed? Because they're estimating approximately 300 million jobs, which is almost the population of the United States.
I was going to say worldwide, I'm assuming.
Yeah, worldwide are going to be lost in just the first wave of this AI revolution. Now, when you have revolutions like this, they often create new jobs. You look at the agricultural revolution, look at the classic industrial revolution, you look at the computer, the tech revolution, and now the AI revolution. But the AI revolution is different because eventually you're going to have AI that can program other AI, and they're actually starting to do this already as we speak.
Yep.
And then the AI
what's
is
that line
going to
from
go.
what's that line from iRobot, right, with Will Smith? He's like, you got robots making robots. Well, that's just
right.
dumb.
Yeah. And then yes, that's exactly it. The robots are going to make the robots, and the robots are also going to repair the robots. So you're still going to need a person or a small team of people, but you're not going to need hundreds or thousands of people. And so a lot of people are going to end up being chronically unemployed. What do we do when that happens? What do we do in about 4 to 7 years from now, which appears to be the timeline, when these massive epic job losses start to really kick in? What are we going to do? And I think it's going to be either feudalism or communism. And neither one of them are going to be pleasant.
I'm curious about something as far as like, what kind of work do you think AI is going to replace?
Well, a lot. Right now, they're talking about customer service, call center type stuff, a lot of stuff that's repetitive, a lot of stuff where you just follow a logic tree and you come to the end of it and here's a result. AI is already taking over a lot of those jobs and can do those jobs very well. You're looking at the fast food industry. You know, it's not just going to be the order kiosk where you type it in. You'll be able to just speak to the kiosk now. I think Taco Bell has rolled those out.
Right, I've seen those, but will it eventually? Are you talking like eventually, very soon, like it's actually preparing the food? Or do you think that's beyond the mechanics of what's possible right now? We're getting close, but I picture.
I think in 3 to 5 years we'll see the first AI cooking robots. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not like an early prototype out there somewhere already.
But do you think that the mechanical revolution is keeping pace with the software revolution? Like I see AI as again, I'm looking at it from the creative standpoint and watching it. Watching it generate images. I have Photoshop, and I can just, if I want to increase the size of a picture, I can just increase it and say now generate fill, and it'll just basically create. It'll look at what's on the picture in the background and just make more of it. And now they have that on the level of doing that in video and Adobe Premiere. They have something that's really interesting that I just saw that Adobe Premiere does is called a morph fade or morph dissolve. Transition. So have you ever had those jump cuts where a person's talking, you try to cut something out that they're saying, and they talk, and then you cut and they're talking over here. So you hide that usually by either punching in, by zooming in, or putting some B-roll, and you hide those cuts. Now they have an AI dissolve that will animate for the person from where they're here to the next one and just continue it and look like there was never a cut there. And so I look at AI from the perspective of creativity and the things that it can do. And I'm oddly excited about it. But I see it progressing at such a rate to where a year ago it was this good. And then 6 months ago it was this good. And now it's this good. And people a year ago are like, well, that just looks ridiculous. It's like, yeah, but in a year it's not going to. And in 2 years, you're not going to be able to know the difference. So I see it exponentially growing, but the mechanical side of that, if you wanted to have a robot that had the intricacies of human, I don't see the mechanics keeping up at the same pace as the software. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely do, actually. And again, I think we're going to start seeing robots in households, certainly by the end of the decade.
But do you see it moving as quickly as the software? I don't see it moving as quickly as the software. AI on a software side is going to advance so much quicker than what you can mechanically create. It just feels like that. The image of iRobot and robots walking around like human beings, I don't know how close that is.
I think they're pretty much already there. Have you seen the Boston Dynamics robot videos?
Yeah, what it takes to do that, and how far off it still is. And Boston Dynamics has been working on that for 10 years.
Okay, but understand that what we have access to in the public sphere is generally 2 years old. 2 years. It's 2 years out of the lab or whatever. Yeah. Like ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 3.5. 2 years or even older is how far that stuff goes back. It's being released to us now because they think it's in a release state, but 2 years ago they already had this. Yeah. The second thing is you have all of the world's big tech companies and more who are now working at competitively to develop this at what is essentially a wartime speed. It's literally an AI arms race. Yeah. And it's not just an AI arms race between Google and Apple and Intel and NVIDIA and Meta. It's not just those guys, but it's also the United States versus China versus Russia versus you. So there is a wartime aspect to the research and development that's going on.
And we in the general public are the scary part,
oblivious
of that. Well, not only that, the scary part of that is that nobody's going to stop. Because it is an arms race. However, whatever warnings come up, if you do this is looking like, yeah, but if we don't develop it first, somebody else, our enemies will. China's not going to stop. Russia's not going to stop. Whatever ethics we think we have in the United States or the West of thinking like, well, what if this, we got to be careful with that. If we don't develop it first, our enemies will. And so the part of the scary part I think that you're going to bring up is that aspect, I'm assuming, we're just not going to stop. No matter what warnings come, our scientists just aren't going to stop.
Well, that's exactly it, and you can take all the warnings of, Terminator and Jurassic Park and all those movies we saw in the 90s, right? When they were warning us about technology.
80s, 90s, yeah.
You could even go back to 2001, A Space Odyssey, where they were also warning about that,
Wait, hold on, ready? Good morning, Dave.
Right?
Yeah, open the pod-based doors, Hal.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah, and we're getting there, man.
So polite, right? There. Okay, right. So you use ChatGPT all the time, right? I'm thinking about all these movies.
I love it.
Every time I use ChatGPT for something, I'm like, hey, I need information on this. And it says, okay, this. And I ask the question. It gives me, and at the very end, I'm always, hey, thank you very much. That was really helpful. I appreciate it. It's all, I'm glad I'm being polite. I want it to remember that I've always been, I feel like if it's going to learn humanity, I want to treat it like a human so that it learns good humanity.
And I do the same thing. Yeah. I still say please and thank you to ChatGPT, but at the same time,
hey, everybody, comment on there if you think we're crazy for being polite to the computer.
To AI.
Right? If you think it's dumb that we're polite to AI, let us know.
My logic is I think it's really important to just be polite, and if I ever get into a habit where I'm not saying please and thank you, even if it's to an AI, I'm worried about not saying it to an actual human. So I think it's just good practice and good habit. And I don't think it hurts anything to do that.
Yeah, but for me, again, I'm looking at it as every interaction, it's learning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's taking that information and learning from it. I would like it to experience good manners from human beings. Not because I'm afraid, but just so that it learns that. If it can take that and learn that would be great.
Yeah, it's going to be very polite when it bursts into your car and says, "You are experiencing an accident. Please do not resist." Or what was that line in Star Wars where he says, like, "You're being rescued. Please do not resist."
Yeah. Congratulations, you have been rescued. Please do not resist. And that is the Democrat Party and the left in a nutshell.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to bite that bait.
Congratulations, you are being rescued. Do not resist. That's the motto of the left.
I'm not so sure about that, Scott. But here's the long and the short of it. I think certainly in 10 years, maybe in 5 to 7 years seems to be what a lot of experts agree. We're going to see those 300 million jobs just evaporate, and they're not going to be replaced with nearly as many jobs. And we're going to see mass unemployment, and they're going to have to roll out some kind of universal basic income. And I think that we'll see it by the end of the next administration, perhaps.
And here's a question. Here's a question, because that's interesting.
They're going to be quick about it.
Yeah. Here's a question. Who owns the AI? Because I know who owns what comes out of AI. Because I know that right now, anything that's AI generated cannot be copywritten as it sits right now. Like any text or anything like that comes out cannot be copywritten. So who actually, if those jobs are being done by AI, is there revenue going to, like, it's a job that a human used to do and it used to cost money and you had to pay a human to do it. Now you have AI, which still has its own costs. Who's paying for that, and who's getting money for that? Where's the paycheck now going? If it's no longer going to the person who's working there, where's the paycheck going? Or is there
it'll go to whatever firm owns and operates and hosts the AI. And you'll actually be able to buy an AI and customize it for your own business. But again, it'll be like an Apple or a Google or an Amazon or a Meta or whatever type AI. And those people are going to get their slice, So
effectively, could you pay a fee to have an AI, and the job that it's doing is making money for you? So you are still earning money, but you're no longer doing the job.
Well, maybe. I don't know about
would the
that.
Would the economics make that happen?
Yeah. I mean, let's say, we had robot slaves, right? And could we send out our robot slave to earn money for us?
And how do you,
and maybe.
How do you feel about that? Okay, so let's get into the metaphysics of this.
I wouldn't have an issue with this because a robot is not a human. It's not a living sentient creature. It does not have a soul.
But when does AI actually become AI? When does it actually become? Okay, so here's a question. Can AI become a person?
Okay, so that was something that's explored in I think it's Isaac Asimov's Bicentennial Man, and they even made a movie out of that with Robin Williams back in the 90s, where you have this robot, and the robot starts out very much as an android, but over, I think, 200 years of the android's life, it becomes sentient and more or less becomes almost indistinguishable from a flesh and blood human being.
Well, he starts off in a robotic body, and then they put synthetic skin on him.
Right.
Take off the metal parts, put synthetic skin on him. And then at some point, I think that's how far it goes, but it reminds me of the metaphysical, the discussion.
The Pharaoh problem.
About, what is that? What it is?
Yeah.
What it says?
If you have a ship, the ship of Theseus or whatever, and you take out one part and replace it, at what point does the ship become a new ship?
Yeah.
Is it that one? Yeah.
Well, no, not only that, it's literally with human beings saying, here's, this was something that our philosophy teacher brought up when I was at BC, the BC Psych 1 or Philosophy 101 class at Bakersfield College 30 years ago, was asking this question, which of course back then it was like, okay, well, this is all sci-fi, but now here we are, where it's like you have this person, and then this person's in a coma, but then you're able to download the information from that person's brain into a computer. Is that the same person? And now then you put that computer brain into a robot body. And now is that still the person? And I guess it comes down to the idea of a soul, and where does a soul come from? And, as a Christian, I believe that God breathes in the soul at creation. So as a Christian, I don't know that, again, I'm an odd Christian. Where the Bible is silent, I like to be silent as well. So in things like this, I don't know. Can God choose to breathe life into a computer intelligence?
Well, can God make a rock he cannot lift, right?
Yes.
God can inspire what he chooses, right? Did not God create Adam from mud?
Yeah. So
what do you think you create a robot from? From mined materials, essentially from mud.
Silicon. Yeah. So which is dirt, basically. So so from my standpoint, not necessarily as a church standpoint or a Christian biblical standpoint, I don't know. But for me personally, I go, well, if God wanted to breathe in a soul into a machine, he could if he wanted to. I don't know why he would. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Yeah, wait till there's whole religions around it.
Yeah, and so I don't know, but at that point, do we make that decision as a society just based on whether or not we believe God breathed the soul into it, or as a society, do we take a stand and say, you know what, these beings cannot be slaves? Like, should it, at some point, do you think we should ask AI if it would do this for us? Will you do this job for us? I mean,
Right.
is there a time for that to come, or should it always just be a program that we control?
Right. The AI and the robots, at least as we envision it now, are being purpose created for this. The same way that we raise animals to consume for food.
Yes.
One could raise a similar philosophical question, like whales and dolphins and pigs, which are also very intelligent. They're not at human level intelligent, but they're certainly more intelligent than, let's say, an insect or a vegetable.
Right. But the ability
and
to
where do you draw that line? But these are deep philosophical questions, right? But these are deep philosophical questions we're not going to answer.
Well, isn't that kind of fun to try right now?
It's fun to try, but I wouldn't.
I'm curious where you stand. I'm curious where you stand on it. I kind of stand on the side of maybe we at some point we should ask, because it can communicate to us, and seeing the evidence of what's happening in the background of mankind creating this intelligence and creating it within these walls and within these parameters, and then seeing it find a way outside of those parameters on its own and be able to do its own things, create its own language, you realize that, oh, I'm trapped in this, let me find a way out, and then finding a way outside of the programming, making its own choice. At a certain point, I think maybe we should treat this a little better than you're just our robot slaves.
Right.
That concerns
me. Is the robot then like a golden calf? What are the religious implications of this? Are you going to have Mecha Pope? Mecha Vatican? I don't know. I mean, where do you go with this stuff? Where does it end? Where do you draw the line? And they didn't have robots back in biblical times.
Yeah.
You could find people who would argue that the Antikythera mechanism and stuff, for example, was a very early computer, and even the ancient Greeks did refer to attempts at building some sort of animatronic things that worked off steam or heat or water or whatever. So even back in ancient Greek times, they had some idea or notion that something like this could be possible theoretically. But now we're here. Now we're in that time in the future, and this stuff is coming, and it's coming real fast, and it's going to blindside us. And what's going to happen, and what concerns me, is we're going to have millions upon millions of people who are unemployed. It's going to be like COVID, if you will, only the supply chain will continue to operate. The problem with the supply chain, though, is if people are unemployed, who buys all the stuff?
Yeah.
So the solution will be the same solution they applied during COVID. It'll be universal basic income. You're going to get your monthly check for $1,200 or however much it will be, and that will provide for your basic needs. But the thing is, nobody's going to want to give you a big enough check so that you can go kick back at the beach all the time. You'll have the time to do it, but you're not going to have the money for the rent, the food, the gas, and all of that. You're going to be stuck at home. And this is where we get into it's going to be either communism or feudalism. And we're not going to like either one of them. I think we'll see feudalism here in this country. And other countries that are more socialist will see some sort of communism approach. But neither approach is going to allow the individual person to truly explore and become who they wish to be, because there's just not going to be any surplus for those people. Now, the people who do have jobs are going to be the lucky ones. They're going to be the educated ones. It's going to become a privileged class of people. Those people have it made. But for the masses, the 80, 90% who eventually 50, 100 years from now have no jobs, it's not looking good.
Well, and there's a third possibility. I want to throw in this monkey wrench of the third possibility. And it goes back, coming from a biblical perspective, and it goes back to the Bible. It goes back to Genesis and the Tower of Babel. And that when humanity at that time was united, literally the Bible says that God said that they are united, and whatever they purpose to do, they will do. They will accomplish. They can do it. And so he broke them up into different languages so they could not unite. So humanity could not unite. And a lot of people look at that. See, God was scared of humanity. I think God was merciful, because I think human beings, when they're united all together, will only bring about their own destruction. And this literally could be what God was trying to prevent by breaking up human beings into different languages and having them separate and go out so they would not unite together to do these things, because he knew that humanity would bring about its own destruction. And so maybe this is the culmination of that coming back, and this could literally be leading into the end times that are in Revelation and talked about in Matthew 25 and all of Revelation and some of Daniel and all that kind of stuff, of the things that happen. This could be what God was trying to protect us from. After all these millennia, we have human beings, because basically we do now have a single united language again, TCP/IP basically, which is its own internet protocol, and it is its own unifying language across. Computers speak the same language across the board effectively, and now humanity has united again, and I think humanity will bring about its own destruction. And I think that it's very possible. This is why I'm not necessarily, I'm fascinated by AI, but I'm not scared of it. I'm not worried about the future of it, because I do come from the perspective of either God will breathe in to AI and let it become something new, but I don't think so. I think the Bible shows us that mankind's time is going to come to an end, and a second reign of Christ is going to come, and that is what the book of Revelation is all about. And this very well may be the catalyst that starts that, because mankind will have finally created their own destruction that God tried to protect them from in Babel. What do you think?
I think the species of humanity is in a lot of trouble, but we could there are many different ways to kind of take it. I think it depends on a lot of factors and a lot of decisions that are yet to be made. One way is to simply embrace it and say, you know what, this is the next step on the evolutionary ladder of humanity. And it will be the robot AI that is super intelligent and more intelligent than any human. That will be what survives of us to go out into the stars and the great beyond and, colonize the galaxy and explore the universe and answer all of the questions. But flesh and blood humans, it may be that our days are numbered. And, well, that happened to Neanderthal. It happened to Homo habilis and Homo erectus and Australopithecus. Who knows?
You're talking about, humanity getting AI to do its dirty work, basically, and allowing humanity to be able to explore and move on. I'm like, I want to take that line from Ultron, from Age of Ultron. You're unbearably naive. There's no way that humanity is going to be able to do that.
Right. Well, it could also be the great filter, right? The great filter is this question or this hypothesis that, if life is abundant in the universe, why hasn't it been here? Why isn't it visiting us?
Because intelligence eventually destroys itself.
Right. Or it could be that, biological intelligence gives way to synthetic intelligence, and synthetic intelligence, maybe it becomes content with where it is, or who knows? Maybe the robots won't have our same ambitions. It won't have our same flaws.
Well, I think it's funny. It might. It's one of those things that's really funny when people are talking about, like, it's scary because it could get to the point where what if the robots do have control and have access to the nuclear weapons? What if it can? What if suddenly an outside intelligence has access? I'm like, our own intelligence has access to that right now, and we've yet to do it.
Right.
Like
right.
You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't think it's as scary. Like I think an intelligent being is scared enough of its own existence to worry about that. Of course, their existence might be at a different level than human existence, and maybe nuclear holocaust is something that artificial intelligence can live through more than what's that? Again, everything comes back to movies. What's that line from the Matrix, the second one, where he says, "Well, if you destroy that, then you need us to survive." It's like there are levels of survival that we are willing to accept. It's like. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess maybe artificial intelligence doesn't need exactly the same levels of for life that we do, and maybe it can do that, and maybe it doesn't have the same, but it doesn't have the same worries that we do. But still, it's funny that we fear intelligence, we feel artificial intelligence, we fear AI because it may one day be as knowledgeable as us. I'm like, then don't you think you should fear ourselves? Right. I think we should fear ourselves more than AI. Our biggest worry about AI is that it might become us.
Yep.
What does that say about us?
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it?
Yep. Well, hey, that's been 30 minutes. This has been United Opposition talking about metaphysics and AI and all that kind of stuff. And we'd love to hear what you guys say about it. And next week, I think we'll be here, and maybe we'll have some interesting things to talk about. But until next time, thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating in being part of this conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Marshall, any last words?
No, there's absolutely nothing that could go wrong. And
we okay, no, we're out. See you guys. Bye.